Is it possible to change? Can I change this? This thing has been such a part of my identity. I don't know who I would be without it. Who am I if I didn't have this pathological problem? So often it is hard for us to think about what life would be like if we didn't have this problem. We're so used to having almost like a biochemical hormonal dependency on the specific subset of things that we feel every day. We get up and the brain entrainment sets off before we've even got out the gates. Here are all the things I need to worry about. I get this hit of my worry chemicals and then my body kind of stabilizes around that state. So it would be tempting to think that we're not really wired for change, and there is a certain homeostatic impulse that the body wants to gravitate towards what worked the previous day. It's difficult to do things without creating a kind of a rhythm that sets a tone, that sets a tempo, that builds the melody or the song of your life off the back of it. Choosing these rituals every single day. I mean, I guess we're entering a different kind of territory now where we're thinking about how much do you actually choose, and there's certainly a rich and lively debate around that. But in NLP we talk about being at cause or being at effect. If you're at effect, that means that you are helpless, that you can't do anything, that you're just trapped. And having that kind of internal dialogue, those kinds of feelings, that kind of like self-justifying dialogue, it tends to keep people stuck. And often what I find when I'm working with people is that there is actually just a helplessness response there. You know, the nervous system's saying, I don't feel safe enough, so I'm going to shut everything down. And maybe this thing's left over from years ago. And so we're moving people from being at effect, as like life is happening to me and I can't do anything about it, to being at cause, like, okay, do I like the song that I'm playing? Do I like the rhythm? Am I constructing things consciously? And there might be all kinds of unconscious reasons why it wouldn't feel safe to do that. Maybe my parents will get angry, or it's not safe to do that because X, Y, Z, whatever the reason. And so what we want to do is just look at the possibility of change and all of the obstacles that might be in the way. There are some general broad strokes that we can cover that might help to move a little bit of this resistance to change. So where are you in the body? Where are you? Are you up here, whirling around? Are you here in the heart? Are you here, somewhere in the guts? Are you even lower, down the legs and in the feet? Whereabouts are you? Or are you kind of all over the place? Maybe a little bit numb, maybe a little bit dissociated. Just noticing what's going on in the body. Really good practice to get into, noticing what's going on in the body. Connecting with where you are at right now. Descending into the body to listen to what's going on. Maybe it feels uncomfortable. That's okay. We can breathe a little bit. Just tap around the collarbone. It's not possible for me to change. I've tried everything. I just can't change. I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me to change. I am the way that I am. My thoughts, my ideas, my opinions, my habituated feelings, they just are what they are. I can't do anything about them. I can't do anything about this. I don't have it in me. It's not possible for me. I just don't know how to do it. parts of my system are really convinced that this is true. The parts of my system that are trying to protect me from all the uncertainty of change. From all the potential danger. Trying to help me stay safe where I am. Because there are some areas in my life where it might feel really dangerous to change. Where I might have all kinds of unconscious resistance to changing. My body's primary task is to keep me safe. And so when it needs to close down that energy, I'm really glad it can do so. Even if it sometimes feels really inconvenient. And then sometimes I get really frustrated. Or really anxious. Thinking about my body's inability to change. Thinking about all of the pain that not changing causes. So I get frustrated at myself. And the fight response comes online. Tries to bully the shutdown response, which of course makes the shutdown response feel even less safe. So then I have one part trying to fight another part. And these two tensions mobilizing in opposite directions. And the thoughts feel so loud. And they really attract my attention. And then I end up practicing those thoughts again and again. Buying into the narrative. But I could observe the reality. Of my system just having some feelings. And even though they might feel really uncomfortable, there's a part of me that might be willing to explore that. Maybe it doesn't feel safe, but I still might be interested to give it a try. I don't have to believe the thoughts. I don't have to believe the storylines. But I can still listen to them quite deeply. And ask that primary question. What do I need? What does my system need? What does my system need when it's shut down? and indulging in stories of helplessness. Is that a young part of me? It was trapped somewhere in time. That's active right now. That needs meeting where it's at. With a warm sense of curious understanding. I'd like to take that approach with myself. And then some parts of me might chip in with stories like, that's not possible. It's not safe. You don't deserve it. Maybe that's just the shutdown response. Generating more storylines. And they can seem so convincing. And they can seem so real. And I can experience them as if they were true. But that doesn't mean they're static. And it doesn't mean they're fixed. And maybe I could be open to the possibility that change is inevitable. And despite my holding on, change is going to happen whether I like it or not. The river keeps on flowing. And I can put lots of dams in it. And try to obstruct the flow. Or I could jump in my kayak and go for an adventure. Choosing to trust the flow. Choosing to help these shut down parts of me. Choosing to connect with them. Choosing to sit here and be with them. Gently helping them understand that what happened was in the past. That they're safe now. And maybe this will take time. And maybe it will take patience. But this is my life. I don't have anything better to do. Than look after myself in the best way I can. And of course, the others around me. But not in an either-or sense. More in a both-and way. I know sometimes it feels like change isn't possible. And that's okay. Often things that feel true, even though I can experience them like that, in the moment, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are true. as a life sentence, or even in the moment. Feeling true and actual truth could be two different things. What do I even mean when I say something feels true? I suppose what I mean is I'm having a bunch of physical sensations, and then I'm having a bunch of stories about those sensations. And the stories are really looking for my attention. And maybe they are articulating something that I fear. And maybe the fear sensation is actually true. I'm certainly experiencing it. But whether the storyline my mind comes up with about those sensations is equally true, well, I'm not so sure about that. It could be that that storyline just hits the mark and articulates what I fear better than anything else. But just because I fear it, it doesn't mean that it's true. And I know that when I'm in survival mode, my access to better quality thoughts is often compromised. And there isn't really a place for them to land. And those better quality thoughts don't feel reflective of my state. And so I choose to discard them in favor of thoughts that feel more reflective of my state, that align better with where I'm at, that explain and justify why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. So then I can feel safe. If I have an explanation and a justification, at least that gives my mind somewhere to rest. Then I don't have to think about it anymore. Because I already know it. And there's nothing more anxiety-provoking than not knowing and uncertainty. But maybe not knowing is where it's at. Maybe I have to forget what I know to be open to knowing something else. Maybe it's what I think I know that is standing in the way of new learning. And maybe being willing to disassemble these thoughts is a good step forward. Beginner's mind. I can start at the very bottom. What is it that I really know? Well, right now I know I'm having some feelings. What do I need? What do these feelings need? Right now they need care and support. So that's my next step. That's what I'm going to offer myself. And step by step, if I break it down, this change, whatever it is I've been fearing, might actually start to seem manageable. So I'm willing and open to the possibility that despite my best efforts, I could actually change. The change is possible for me, even if it doesn't always feel that way. I know that's just my system asking for help, and I'm willing to give it that. I'm willing to listen to what it needs and attempt to give it that. However imperfectly. I'm just going to keep practicing. And whatever I keep practicing, it's inevitable that I'm going to get better. All this survival stress. Willing to let it go. And willing to be at peace. Hand on the heart, hand in the solar plexus here. Breathe into it. So keep checking in, keep feeling what your body needs. Often when there is a feeling like I can't change, I can't do anything about it, there's a block somewhere. Either there's like the high anxiety, which might be part of it, or there is like a block somewhere around the solar plexus or lower down, like a shutdown sense of no, not going anywhere today. This is our kind of go-to responses. We'll try to jump in and bully that part. It's like we try to hit it with a stick and get it moving, but if you want a flower to open, you have to focus on creating the right environment and the conditions for it to open. Like you create the conditions for your body to come out of shutdown. Well, what does it need to come out of shutdown? Well, it needs to feel safe, okay? Let's create an environment where it feels safe, one where I'm not jumping onto myself with this frustration and anger and trying to force myself to open, because it's just going to drive it further into this shutdown response. Once the conditions are safe, then the thing can start to relax. Then you'll feel this energy just start to gently release. And so when you're in those deep places, it's about getting very soft and connecting with where you're at, but being quite focused to get to that place, because you actually have to go through some uncomfortable feelings of like vulnerability and helplessness. I have this idea of myself, and I don't want to think that this is part of it, that I could have this shutdown response as well, but actually you need to be able to include all of that in who you are and recognize it as a functional protective mechanism. Starting to see it that way is going to help it relax, open up, and start to liberate some of this stuck survival energy. So you can do that as many times as you want, and I would recommend going through these videos often, because whatever you practice, you start to practice this kind of pathway through the mud, and you'll get to learn how to navigate it, and then you'll feel even more safe because you know how to navigate these dark waters. So yeah, hopefully that was useful. Let me know what you think in the comments. Anything you want to say, anything you want to request, I'm very open at the moment. If there's anything specific you can think of you want me to work on, you can make a suggestion. I'll put it in the bank. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.